Hello and welcome to the Discover History YouTube channel. And tonight we're going to do one of our videos that's been requested. Basically, we've got quite a list of videos that you have requested over the last few weeks, basically. And this one crops up quite a bit. We've had quite a few people ask us for this. And this video is not really about an historic topic. We're not talking about a particular artifact that we own. We're not going to talk about a particular battle or anything like that. It is actually just about discover history. And the reason why we're doing it, like I said, is we've had quite a few people that have asked over the years, how did you get into it? What sort of things do you have on offer? Mainly because some people's only saw one aspect of what we do. What's your sort of timeline of Discover History, really? So that's what we're going to cover in this video. So just to give you a little background, we actually started Discover History in 2003. And when I say we, I am actually referring to myself and Helen, who most of you have probably met either in person or in these lockdown videos, for example. And we both have backgrounds in museum education, heritage and tourism, basically. So the three key things that we're still involved with heavily, not just in Worcester but across Britain. So we've all got a background in that sort of world. And around about 2002, both myself and Helen were working for the museum service for Worcester City. It's now county based, so it's now Museums Worcestershire, but it was Worcester City Museum Service. And we worked across the three museums in Worcester, which included the Commandery, the City Museum and Art Gallery, and also Tudor House, which is now owned as a separate entity, despite going under the umbrella as such of Worcester City Council still. So we actually worked in all three museum sites. Helen was predominantly at the Art Gallery and Museum, the City Museum and Art Gallery, and I was predominantly at the Commandery. And by 2002, we had in our head, the two of us, an idea of setting ourselves up in a freelance business, basically. Our main aim was to carry out education. At the end of the day, that was our background. So our aim was to have interesting workshops, history days, craft activities, practical sessions, all involving history. And the thing is, we had a fair amount of artifacts anyway, and also costumes as well. It's something that we had whilst we worked for the museum service. And weirdly, I used to collect a vast amount of replica items, things from swords to armour to cooking pots and that sort of thing. And therefore I had amassed quite a collection. So we actually had the tools for the job, we had the experience. All we needed to do really is launch ourselves into the business. Initially we went under a different title, a different name, and a different logo actually, and officially we began as a company in 2003. Now, when we started in 2003, as I mentioned, our main aim was going to be purely school workshops, and we're talking a 90-minute workshop, be it a half-day session, a full-day session. And we always said from the beginning, we are going to make history a little bit more interesting than the way we were taught, and also to make history accessible to people of all ages and abilities. And we famously believe in the story that you're never too old to learn, and we believe in lifelong learning. So we are happy talking to a 5-year-old, a 50-year-old, even a 100-year-old, and believe it or not, we've done all three. So that's Discover History, and education was the key thing. Now, fortunately for us, we've actually won awards for our education, so we can act and officially say we are award winning. But from that, we did have a few museums contact us, and these were museums that we had visited over the years, and they said, well, because you are doing, for example, medieval workshops in schools, would you be able to come along and sit in the museum gallery? In this could be anywhere, and believe it or not, we were getting calls from Lincolnshire, for example, and we went along and we brought the things that we use in schools and we sat there and spoke about it. And that gave us an idea from just doing purely school workshops, education, to actually expand that into living history. So we then went into living history, and therefore we could put up a tent, we could sit down, we could chat to people about the artifacts that we bring in, and obviously we would be dressed as characters from that age. And that sort of developed from there to become not only living history, ongoing living history, but also historical performances at set times in places like museums. We would also do that with very accurate equipment and costumes, and with a vast amount of research, which we often put in prior to doing an event. We have done events in first person, which is where you are actually a character from that age, which takes a lot of research and a lot of concentration to keep with that story. And we also do what is often referred to is third person, where we're talking about this is how a medieval person did that, for example. And then at those sort of events, we kept getting asked by people, oh, do you do a talk on this sort of topic? Would you like to visit our group? So from that, as well as doing education and living history, we were then starting to think, well, we could actually offer a third thing, which is talks for organisations. And therefore we set up doing talks, and we do talks for things like WI groups, Rotary clubs, history societies, archaeological societies. And once again, we often come dressed in character and bring a vast array of artefacts. Interestingly, the artefacts that I was collecting before we actually set up the business. We also had a few people turn up to those talks that actually work in care homes or had family members in care homes. And they said, could you do, for example, a really nice talk, a little bit of a chat to residents in a care home about, for example, World War II, or maybe even the 1950s and the 60s. So interestingly, we started to offer an addition to our talks as care home reminiscence sessions, and they are really, really popular. And amazingly, we get a lot from that, because obviously we also believe in oral history. In other words, you can be sat there chatting to someone and they are more likely to tell you about their experiences from the war by looking at the artifacts that we bring in. And the best thing about that is we're learning from them also, especially if it's somewhere local, because they have a local story to tell us in Worcester. And then what we then kept getting asked to do is to pop in, for example, to BBC Hereford and Worcester Radio, or even a few times Midlands Today or ITV News, who were doing a thing or a piece to camera in a museum, for example, Hartlebury Castle, and we were then asked for that as well. So we started to go down the route of film and television work. And if anyone's watched things like Country Tracks or lots of the other shows like that, very similar, we have appeared on those over the years, mainly talking to camera and also with some backdrop things, almost like ghostly apparitions in the background. Now, eventually, when we got to I'm just looking now at the dates, because I've had to write them all down because there's so much information. By about 2004, we also started to look at things like training, and we do get involved with training volunteers at different museums, and also getting involved in assisting publicly with some of the key events or anniversary events. And over the years we have helped, for example, with Magna Carta. This year we're getting involved with not only what's left of Mayflower 400 celebrations, but also the 400th anniversary of Worcester City Charter. But saying that, in 2005, bringing it close to the modern day, we were doing an event at Croom Court, I think it was, and we were sat down in the sunshine having a bit of a lull between the visitors, and we discussed setting up a proper logo, a logo that would be recognisable as Discover History. And at that point, it was Helen, in fact, that came up with this fantastic logo that we use. It's on all our corporate stuff as well, and hopefully you can see that on our general leaflet there. And it's really clever because, as you will probably notice on there, there is an archaeological trowel and it's uncovering history. And above it, obviously, we've got the term discover. So it's almost finding out about history, discovering history from us. And you will notice there are social history items with the archaeology as well. For example, there's a broken pot, and on the right hand side there's also a sword, because obviously, as we always say with these videos, we are not just concentrating on social history, we do social history and military history. In 2005, it's also when we started to bring out these leaflets. Prior to that, most of our work was word of mouth, and then everyone suddenly wanted a leaflet that they could take away, which has all our details on, that sort of thing. 2007 was the next big key event in the story of Discover History, because we set up walking tours. Now, we decided to do one walking tour, and we came up with this fantastic idea, we thought, of calling it the Worcester Story, because it will cover the story of how Worcester developed. So it will talk about the end of the Ice Age animals, go on to, for example, Stone Age hunter-gatherers, and then to the foundations of the city that we live in today. So the start in the Bronze Age of the settlement, about 700 and 750 BC, and then go all the way up, bringing it right up to the modern day. But saying that, we then kept getting asked by people, can you just concentrate on talking about medieval Worcester or Tudor Worcester? Well, to say that, we now offer 36 different walking tours, including being asked by Worcester City Council to deliver Guildhall tours as well. So we're very, very busy with those. Unfortunately, with lockdown, we have obviously stopped doing our schoolwork, we have stopped doing our care home work and everything else that we offer, and also our walking tours. But amazingly, we are slowly coming out of lockdown. So slowly we'll be back doing what we do and what we love to do. At about the same time also, we came up with the idea of selling these, which are available from Worcester Tourist Information or direct from ourselves. And this is a voucher. If you've ever heard of theatre vouchers, it works in the same way. You can book on the Worcester Story tour, or you can buy a voucher and gift it to someone. And once again, if you want to find out more about that, look on our website. Because we kept getting asked for more information about Worcester, our home city, as part of our walking tours, we also produce this, the Worcester Story book. And this book basically acts as a souvenir guide, but also a book that covers the whole of the history of Worcester in a short, manageable, bite-sized chunks. And at the same time, Worcester City Council, or the tourism department for Worcester, also asked us to produce a Worcester Walkabout, which is basically a self-guided version of our walking tour. So in the years since we started in 2003, I must say we've been extremely busy. Right up to the present day, 2018, we started to introduce walks and workshops for local school children looking at local history. That allowed us to do a workshop in the school and also a walking tour. And then right up to the present day, in 2020, during lockdown #1, we said we would start a YouTube channel where we would offer one video every single day during lockdown. We're now in lockdown 3, and I must say we have done just that. One lockdown video every single day, and that's been used by teachers, schools, and we've even been doing videos on request like this one, and for school pupils wanting some help with their homework. But the other amazing thing is in 2020, Ian Riley also became part of the Discover History family. It's one of our guides when the walk start up again, but has been a great help in recording these videos, for example, and also editing some of the commissioned videos that we've been doing during lockdown for schools and things like that. So we are now a team of 3, as we like to say, the 3 musketeers of Discover History. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into who Discover History are. And remember, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and do look up our website www.discover-history.co.uk. On that note, stay safe, stay in, have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you with another video tomorrow. Bye bye.